Picture this. It's ancient Arabia, a land of mystery and intrigue. The air is thick with the scent of spices and the buzz of market crowds. But in the shadows, whispers of a dark practice circulate, a practice so secret, so taboo, that it's spoken of only in hushed tones. Legend has it that in this land, there were men, old men mind you, who would volunteer for a fate worse than death. These weren't your average Joes, oh no. These were revered elders, respected members of society who believed they had one last service to offer their community. Now brace yourselves, because this is where things get really, really weird. These men would begin a diet consisting solely of honey. Yes, you heard that right. Honey, honey, and more honey. They'd eat it, drink it, bathe in it. Their entire existence became consumed by this sticky, sweet substance. But why, you ask? Well, dear listeners, the answer will send shivers down your spine. You see, this wasn't just any old diet. This was a preparation for death. These men were essentially turning themselves into human honeycombs. Their bodies were becoming vessels for the very substance they consumed. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, their bodies would undergo a horrifying transformation. Their flesh would begin to absorb the honey, their bodily fluids slowly being replaced by the syrupy substance. Can you imagine the agony, the slow, excruciating process of your very essence being replaced by honey? But it didn't stop there. Oh no, this was just the beginning of their gruesome journey. When death finally claimed these honey-soaked individuals, their bodies weren't buried or cremated like you might expect. Instead, they were sealed in stone coffins, absolutely drenched in honey. Now here's where it gets really freaky. These honey mummies weren't created just to be left alone in some dusty tomb. No, no, no. They had a purpose. A dark and disturbing purpose that'll make your blood run cold. You see, over time, the honey-soaked corpses would ferment, transforming into a substance so potent, so utterly revolting, that it was believed to have incredible medicinal properties. This wasn't just any medicine, folks. This was a panacea, a cure-all for every ailment under the Arabian sun. Imagine, if you will, the scene of someone actually using this human honey as medicine. The sticky, fermented remains of a person, smeared on wounds or ingested to cure illnesses. It's enough to make your stomach do somersaults, isn't it? But hold on to your hats, because we're about to dive even deeper into this rabbit hole of horror. The practice of mellification, wasn't just some obscure, long-forgotten ritual. Oh no. References to this grisly process can be found in various historical texts, sending shockwaves through the academic community. One such reference comes from the 16th century Chinese pharmacologist Li Shizhen. In his groundbreaking work, Benkao Gongmu, or Compendium of Materia Medica, Li describes a substance called mummification. Now, doesn't that just sound delightful? But I assure you, it's anything but. Li writes, and I quote, "In Arabia there are men 70 to 80 years old who are willing to give their bodies to save others. The subject does not eat food. He only bathes and consumes honey until he dies. His body is then placed in a stone coffin filled with honey. After 100 years, the seals are removed. Can you feel the chill running down your spine? The thought of someone willingly subjecting themselves to this fate? It's almost too much to bear. But wait, there's more." Li goes on to describe how this mummy confection was used to treat fractures and wounds. Yes, you heard that right. People were actually using the fermented remains of honey-mummified humans to heal themselves. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely this can't be real, right? It must be some kind of twisted fairy tale or urban legend. Well, my friends, the truth is often stranger than fiction. While there's no concrete archaeological evidence of mellification, the persistence of this story across cultures and centuries is truly mind-boggling. But let's take a step back for a moment and consider the historical context. In ancient times, honey was revered for its medicinal properties. Its antibacterial and preservative qualities were well known, even if the science behind them wasn't understood. In fact, honey has been used in medicine for thousands of years, with records dating back to ancient Egypt and Greece. The legendary Greek physician Hippocrates, often referred to as the father of medicine, was known to use honey in his treatments. He's quoted as saying, "Honey and pollen cause warmth, clean sores and ulcers, soften hard ulcers of the lips, heal carbuncles and running sores." So in a world where honey was already seen as a powerful medicinal agent, is it really so far-fetched to imagine a culture taking this belief to its extreme, gruesome conclusion? The human mind, after all, is capable of conjuring up some truly horrifying ideas in the pursuit of health and longevity. But the horror doesn't stop there. Oh no. Let's consider for a moment the psychological impact of such a practice. Imagine being the person who volunteers for mellification, the slow, agonizing process of essentially drowning yourself in honey from the inside out. The knowledge that your body will be used in ways that most of us couldn't even begin to fathom. And what about the people who actually use this human honey? Can you picture the desperation that would drive someone to consume the fermented remains of another human being? The mixture of hope and revulsion they must have felt as they applied this ghastly concoction to their wounds or swallowed it to cure their ailments. It's a testament to the lengths humans will go to in their quest for health and immortality. A dark mirror held up to our own society, where people will try almost anything in the name of wellness. From fad diets to dubious supplements, are we really so different from our ancestors who believed in the power of mellified human remains? But let's delve even deeper into the rabbit hole, shall we? The concept of using human remains for medicinal purposes isn't unique to mellification. In fact, it's a practice that has popped up in various cultures throughout history. Take, for example, the European practice of using mummy powder as medicine. From the 12th century onwards, ground-up mummies from Egypt were used to treat a variety of ailments. This wasn't some fringe practice either. It was mainstream medicine for centuries. Even King Charles II of England was known to have his own personal mummy powder, which he referred to as his cure-all. And let's not forget about the more recent and utterly horrifying practice of medicinal cannibalism in China. In the 1960s and 70s, during the Cultural Revolution, there were reports of people consuming the bodies of executed criminals, believing it would cure tuberculosis and other diseases. The very thought is enough to make your skin crawl, isn't it? But back to our honey-soaked horrors. The practice of mellification, whether real or legend, speaks to something deep and primal in the human psyche. It's a grotesque manifestation of our fear of death and our desperate desire for health and longevity. Think about it. In a world without modern medicine, where every illness could be a death sentence, wouldn't you be tempted to try anything? Even if that anything involved consuming the fermented remains of a honey-mummified corpse? It's a chilling thought, but one that forces us to confront the lengths we might go to when faced with our own mortality. And let's not overlook the symbolic significance of honey in this grisly practice. Honey, with its golden hue and sweet taste, has long been associated with immortality and divine power. In ancient Egypt, honey was used in the mummification process and was believed to be the food of the gods. In Greek mythology, ambrosia, the food of the gods that granted immortality, was often described as being similar to honey. So, in a twisted way, the practice of mellification can be seen as an attempt to transform the human body into something divine, something immortal. By saturating the body with honey, inside and out, perhaps the ancients believed they could cheat death itself. But oh, what a price to pay for that chance at immortality. Can you imagine the agony of those final months? Your body slowly being consumed by honey, your organs shutting down one by one as the sticky substance replaces your blood and bodily fluids, and all the while knowing that your suffering is just the beginning. That your body will continue to serve long after your death, transformed into a grotesque medicine. It's a fate that would make even the bravest soul quake with fear. And yet, according to the legends, there were those who willingly subjected themselves to this horror. What kind of person would volunteer for such a fate? Were they driven by a sense of duty to their community? Or perhaps by the promise of a kind of immortality, their essence living on in the bodies of those they helped cure? We may never know the truth behind these honey-soaked horrors, but the very existence of such tales, the fact that they've persisted for centuries, tells us something profound about human nature, about our fear of death, our desperation in the face of illness, and the lengths we'll go to in search of a cure. So the next time you drizzle honey on your toast or add a spoonful to your tea, take a moment to reflect. That sweet, golden substance has a dark history, one steeped in blood and horror. And who knows? Perhaps somewhere out there, in some forgotten corner of the world, the practice of mellification lives on. A chilling thought to end our journey into the macabre, isn't it? And so, dear listeners, we come to the end of our horrifying tale of honey and human remains. As you go about your day, try not to think too hard about what might be lurking in that jar of honey in your pantry. After all, some questions are better left unanswered, some mysteries better left unsolved. Sleep tight, and don't let the honey mummies bite. Until next time, this is your host,